Who am I? Well, my name is Kenneth Ellington. I just graduated from the University of South Florida, Go Bulls. My degree was in cybersecurity and information systems. I will start as a program analyst developer at DTCC starting this Monday, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's been a long 2 months after graduation. Just a quick fact about me, I love My Hero Academia. I think it's the best anime that I've ever seen in my entire life. Just personally, in personal experience. So what is Splunk? If you guys are getting inside IT or just beginners, you probably heard or seen about Splunk. In a basic sense, it's a log management and data aggregation system that's used, I believe, by 98% of the Fortune 100 companies. So the cool thing about it is that it allows you to collect machine data from different types of sources, then allows you to aggregate that machine data, correlate it, and make it organized. So you can find key insights or key nuggets of data that you normally wouldn't if you didn't have Splunk. So for example, if you have an Apache weblog server and you're curious about what your users are doing with that, with their email address and such, you can install Splunk on your web server and you can aggregate that data and send it to the database for Splunk, and you can search on it. And what are the basic components of Splunk? Well, it's composed of three main components. There's more, but for this basic intro, I'm just gonna go over these three. There's an indexer, there's a search head, and a supporter. An indexer is what indexes the data. So when you forward your data to the indexer, it's gonna timestamp it and organize and put events on it. And then with the search head, you're able to search those events that's stored inside the index. A search head, as I just said, allows you to search your index data on the indexer. So when we're going inside of the demo in about 10 minutes, you're going to actually use something called SPL, which is stands for Search Processing Language. It's Splunk language for basically like SQL from SQL databases, but it's just their version of it. It's really neat. You can do a lot of cool things with it. And then the last component that we're going to go over is a forwarder. A forwarder is basically a light instance of Splunk, which allows you to forward the data to whatever indexer that you have or Splunk instance that you have. As another example, let's say you have a firewall and you want to look at your data or your firewall logs. You can actually install a Splunk instance on your firewall, and then that's going to forward all that machine data towards your Splunk instance, your actual main one. So in this case, we're using the Splunk Cloud, so it'll forward it to Splunk Cloud, and that will allow you to search it with the search head. And below is a link to the documentation about what indexes, search heads, and forwarders are. So if you're still curious about it, you can look it up after this course. And here is an example diagram. I know some people are more visual learners. So from base point, as I was saying earlier, on the bottom are forwarders. So this forwarder right here is a Linux forwarder. This forwarder right here is the Windows forwarder. And I believe this one is the Mac. So you would actually install it on your Windows or Linux host, and you forward the data to the indexer. The data gets indexed, and then once that happens, you're able to search it with SPL. And as I said earlier, you have firewall and router data that you can also use. And searching basics. What is SPL? SPL is the search and processing language that Splunk uses. How to use it? I'm about to go over that in a couple minutes. Use SPL to use it. It's different keywords and terms, just like SQL. And what does it look like? You're also going to learn that pretty quickly too. And again, there's more documentation about what SPL is and how you can use it. All right, we're about to go to hands-on selection. You guys should have received an email from Michaela. Just go to that email. It should be a Word document, or I believe she formatted differently. But let's see. We're going to ingest some data. Are there any questions? Yes, there is. Cool, no questions. All right, so you're gonna go to this link down here. I've already have it pulled up on my laptop. So we're gonna go to Montgomery County. They have data about their county, so traffic data, construction data, stuff like that. They're able to actually ingest for free of cost. Well, that's pretty cool. So you're gonna click on this link. You can go all the way down to crashes, and so this is the data set that we're going to use and ingest for our Splunk instance. You have construction data, active road closures, basically everything that happens in the county, they try to record it. Click and crash incidents. You're going to hit the export button, and you're going to click on the CVS file. So it's going to download it on your machine. See it pulled up? Yep. Save file. Hopefully it downloads correctly. Fingers crossed. Let's see. Cool. Perfect. So it's correctly downloaded on my machine. So now that I have it downloaded on my machine, we're gonna go to Splunk. So if you guys correctly downloaded it a couple days ago when Michaela sent out the email, you should have a link to get to your Splunk instance. So let's click on that link and the email that they sent you after you downloaded and signed up. And I'll give everyone 5 minutes just so they can get the Splunk in case they get lost or have any questions. When you get there, it should take you to like a black screen that says Splunk, and then you'll enter in your username and your password that you made earlier. We'll resume at 5:16. Looks like we got some new people in. Well, there's a question in the chat. While we are waiting, I have a question. Why would you use Splunk over a SIEM? Okay, well, I guess for starters, actually Splunk doesn't like Splunk doesn't want to be known as a security company. They actually do a pretty good job about it. They want to be known more as a data company. So Splunk's security set or their SIEM is just a very, very small portion of their company or the products that they sell. Splunk is the most popular SIEM still, so it has the most market share. So for the foreseeable future, it's going to be the most popular one. So if you're making an investment in learning a SIEM, I would suggest Splunk. That's probably the most popular for the foreseeable future. The next one is, I believe, QDAR for IBM, but that's not as popular as Splunk. So it also kind of depends on what your company uses, but since the majority of Fortune 100 companies use Splunk, I would suggest starting out with that. And again, that's just a very small portion of what Splunk can do for their SIEM. Yeah, Splunk in itself is a data platform. So their security information event monitoring system is just a small portion of it. They have machine learning, AI. They have a lot of other stuff that incorporates it. But Splunk is like, let's say their SIEM platform is just like 5% of what they actually do. They have a much larger platform for data aggregation in general. Do one more time. Click on this link right here. Go to the crash dataset, crash instance dataset. Click on that. The export, and then export it in a CVS file. Okay, we're about to start. All right, let's go to, everyone should be on Splunk Cloud. Let's ingest some data. Let's see. Input. No. Where's it going? Okay, questions. This should be your basic page once you actually log on. Since I ingested this data about 2 weeks ago to practice for it, yours is going to look slightly a little different. So that your dates and times might be a little bit different, but that's still okay. It's not a big deal. Search reporting. You can go to add data. So you can go to settings, click on add data. You're going to go to click upload. And for monitoring, that's if you're trying to monitor something on your own host. So if your computer is directly connected to your router, you would click on monitoring. So constantly monitor it, but your computer has to be on for this all the time. So we're just going to do one-time upload. All right, and click select file. It'll crash port and instant data, and click open. Load. Click next. All right. Now this is a source type. What a source type is basically the type of data that it is. So if you had, if you had Windows logs or Apache web log data, that would be that'd be type of data. If you have firewall data, that'd be another type of data. If you had Linux web logs, that'd be another type of data that you would. This is a CVS because we're importing this as a one-time upload, and it's in a CVS file format. It's just going to say CVS. This is a one-time upload. We're not monitoring data, or we're not forwarding data from a different type of source. But this is formatted correctly, so then click next. Okay. All right, a host is basically what the computer name is, so kind of like the MAC address. But in this case, since this is kind of ugly and long, we're going to change it. So we're going to change it to Montgomery server. So change the host field value to Montgomery server. That's just something that we're going to name it. Normally, if you're in an enterprise environment for best practices, they're going to have a naming convention. But since this is our own personal practice and personal use, you can name it whatever you want to. I just named it this because this is the most efficient for me. So just follow along for this. And when we start searching the index, this is going to be main. Again, for another best practice for Splunk, you would normally have multiple indexes because you don't want to store all of your data inside one index. Because if you're trying to search against it, you have to kind of look through the entire library of it instead of looking for separate bits of information in different indexes. If you have different indexes, it allows for a more efficient search. So we're just going to use the default index. Next. So everything looks good. And so you guys can hit submit. Since I've already uploaded this data before, 2 weeks ago, I'm not going to hit submit. Once you guys hit submit, it should take you to this page, which I'll show you. It should take you to search and reporting. And your search bar should be populated, and it should show you your data. Something like this. It's my search history. I'm going to do all time. All right. So it should look something like this. Does anyone have any questions before I proceed further? Your screen should look something like this. The time might look a little bit different because I uploaded this earlier, but for the most part, it looks something similar to this. So let me know if it doesn't. I'll give another, let's say, 2 to 3 minutes in case people got left behind. Upload part, I'll go through it again. No problem. Not an issue. So you should have got an email with information like this. This would walk you through how to install Splunk on your system, or Splunk Cloud. For the onboarding data, you're going to follow this link right here. Once you click on this link, it's going to take you here. This page should display. Scroll down. You can go to data Montgomery County for their data set and click on it. You're going to scroll all the way down to crash incidents. Click on that. Once you're there, you're going to go to export and click on CVS file. Once that's downloaded, it should show in your download section. Once that happens, you're going to log into your Splunk Cloud instance. You should have got an email when you signed up for them, and they should have prompted you to make a password and username and as such. Once you do that, you're going to go to add data and click upload. Select file. So the file that you just downloaded for the CVS data set, which is crash reporting and incidents data. You're going to click open. Let it load. Also, if you guys still get stuck, just let me know and I'll stay afterwards to help you out. So CVS data type, click next. You're going to change this to, I'll do it again. Server. Click review, then you'll click submit. Once you click submit, it should take you to the search and reporting app. And let's see, your search bar should be populated with at this. Okay, should be popular with something like this. So I'll also explain what each portion of what's happening here. So you guys, I know, are probably confused. Okay, to start off with in your search bar, I think I went over this a little bit earlier, but your index is going to be main. That's just the default index that you have when you install Splunk. If you're in an enterprise environment, you would have multiple indexes. So let's say if you worked for, let's say Hillsborough County, that's where I live at. If you work for Hillsborough County, you would have, let's say, maybe a crash incident actual index, and then let's say maybe traffic index or healthcare index, for example. We'd actually have individual indexes, because when you search against one big main index with all their data inside of it, you actually have to look through like each book in the library, and that's really inefficient. And if you have hundreds of different users and multiple servers running, that takes up a lot of resources, which costs a lot of money for your corporation, and it's expensive, and that's very slow. So that's why a search best practice is to search against this one index, so you specify the index. But in this case, since when you have one index, which is main, when you have one data source, which is the crash reporting that we just uploaded, it doesn't really matter. And the source is the crash reporting incidents data, CVS file that we just uploaded. Normally, it would be like a server name or a computer name, but since we just downloaded it from their server and put on our machine, it's a CVS file. And the host, we changed that to Montgomery server. And the source type is CVS because it's a CVS file. And this is your time range picker. And since I downloaded this 2 weeks ago, my times are going to look a little bit different than yours, but we can still fix that with the search bar, so don't worry about that. We'll get to that like in 5 minutes. And there's 3 types of modes. There's fast mode, smart mode, and verbose mode. Fast mode is just you can get the bare minimum data, something quick and very easy. Smart mode balances all the data that you get with the data you actually need. So smart mode is a best search practice by Splunk. So normally this is what you're going to want to use. And verbose mode gives you everything back, so it takes a little bit longer. Again, if you're in an enterprise environment, you're going to want to use smart mode unless otherwise specified. Okay, got that. So normally, when I download a data set or I start searching with Splunk, I just look through the interesting fields. As for selected fields, they're going to be the 3 fields I just mentioned: host, source, and source type. Those are by default are always going to be your selected fields. If you want, you can click and select yes to add an interesting field to your selected fields. So that means it's going to be highlighted when you actually look up in the data set down here. If you don't want it, you can manually say no. Interesting fields are fields that appear in 20% or more of each individual search. So when you get your first data set, just look through it, see if anything interests you. And when I found it, I started looking through it. One thing that piqued my interest was weather data. It was weather, and it was, where's it at? Collision types. So what type of crashes are happening? So we're going to change this to smart mode. And just for quick reference, if you look at the entire actual individual search, or each event, I should say, this will give you everything for it. So I'm going to do last 30 days, last 30 days. So yours will look a little bit different again because you just uploaded this. See, I only have 227 because it's 2 weeks out. So I am about to search, so I'll explain what the search actually does after I type it in. Cool. Okay, so So what I did here is also to go down a line, you just hit Shift and Enter, and that'll make you go automatically to the next line. What I did was I used the pipe symbol. So if any of you guys are familiar with Linux or Mac systems, what piping does is it kind of just filters the data that's up top and it pipes it down into whatever command you use in the next line. And the command I use is a transformational command called table. What that does is it's gonna put whatever data I want to manipulate into a table format. So I want to get the weather and collision data side by side in a table format. That's why I use the command table. And if you want to sort it by alphabetical order, you just click the up arrow or down arrow for ascending and descending. And so it organizes it by alphanumeric. So what I found interesting when I was looking at the data was most of the accidents that happened in Alabama, or this county, Montgomery County, I should say, the weather was actually clear. It wasn't raining. You can look, you can see it's clear. It's clear. There's not a lot of rainy or wet weather, I guess, in that county. Any questions at all? Also, you're probably wondering why I put this in quotations. If you're searching a field, let's see. Also, first step, change it back to verbose mode if you were searching with me. Because as I said in smart mode, it only gets the most efficient data that you need. So you can't look at statistics and events at the same time when you're in smart mode. You can only do that if you're in verbose mode. So change it to verbose. Click on events. And if you are looking up a field and there's a space or an asterisk or whatever in between it, you're gonna want to put in quotations. Because when Splunk, when the search head reads this, it's going to look for the field. If there's no quotations, look for the field collision, then look for the field type. And since that doesn't exist, you're gonna get back an error. Let's see. It should give an error. Let's see. Double check. You see? It's looking for the field collision. It's looking for the field type, which that doesn't exist. So if you don't use quotations, you're going to get back an error, and you're not going to get the correct search results that you want. So that's why you always put quotations. For weather, I didn't do that because it's just one word. So it's just one word field. So it doesn't matter. Field strings only need quotations if there's like a space or a dash or something in between. If not, the search head's not going to understand what you're looking for. You can look for each individual word if there's a space between it. And I'm going to show you something else that's pretty interesting and cool in my opinion. I'll explain what the search is after. Fields. All right. Okay. So what I just did is I used another pipe command. So I piped down the data that's coming from this search right here, and I put it in the field command. What the field command does is the field command is just going to bring back the fields that you specify right next to that command. So all that's going to get brought back is weather and collision type. You're probably wondering, well, is that what happened the last time? That's not what happened the last time. Without this field command, it's going to bring back every single event that has weather and collision type. It's just going to table the weather and collision type data, but it's still going to bring back all the events that has everything else. With the field command, it's just going to bring back weather and collision type data. Why you would do this is this makes your searches much more faster, maybe even double or triple the speed if you put the field command. So what was it? I believe it was inclusion is better than exclusion. So in your searches, you want to include all the data that you can to make your search the most efficient. So now you're using the resources of your company. And you could tell it was on this instance when it brought this back. See, it will within like less than a second compared to if I took this out. So that's just a search best practice. For your own personal use, it's not as important because, again, this is just one data set and it's just the main index. So it's not as important, but for practice, I would suggest using that. Out. All right, I'm gonna research again. And there's one more command I wanna show you before we get an enhancement portion for you guys personally. I'll explain what the search does after. Count by. What's a good data set I want to use? All right, let's do 30 days. All right, search it. Cool. Okay, so again, I piped the data that came from our search from above to the stats command. The stats command gives you statistical data on the fields that you're trying to specify. So what this is stats count by. So this is our command. This is our argument, and this is our cause. So with the command, we're telling it what to do. With the argument, we're telling it how to do it, and then we're using a clause to combine everything. So stats count by giving the statistics and count it by the date, month, and the collision type. So what this search does, this is giving us all the amount for the collision type for what happened and what the type is. So if there was a head-on collision, let's say there was 30 in June, with this search we're able to actually see that. We can see that there was 30 head-on collisions in the month of June, and then there was maybe only 10 single vehicle accidents in the month of July, for example. And what I did is you can again sort it. You can actually manually sort in a search bar, or you can actually just click here and it'll sort by the count, ascending and descending order. This is by descending order, sorting the count. And June had 61 same direction rear end collisions. So I guess someone hitting someone's bumper from behind. I'm guessing what that means. And also, if you guys are a little bit confused when you're getting your data sets in, that I'm missing some data or this data doesn't look correct, this data was collected by, I guess, maybe traffic cops. So it's based on what the information that they got. So there may be some different variants within your data, which is fine. Next, it's gonna be your turn. So these are 4 basic questions. The last one's a little bit the hardest for you to practice on. So I'm gonna give you 5 minutes in between each question so you can search and practice with. you guys have any questions at all, just let me know, and I'll be able to walk you through it. Just copy and paste your search string into the chat, and I'll look and see where you made your errors if you have any questions or any concerns. So the first question is, what is the most common collision type? And with the command I just showed you, the stats command, you should be able to get a pretty good idea of that. The answer to the search is very similar to the search I just did right here. So what would you change about it? Since it's for all time, maybe change it to all time, maybe? All right, but yeah, it should be same direct rear end collision for the most popular type. It's just type count by collision type. Pretty simple. So the next one I want you guys to do is, what is the most common collision type in the month of June? And what is the weather for the most common collision type? And then this part right here, the sort by, I'll show you how to do that after we get your answers. I'll give like 3 minutes for that. What is the most common collision type in the month of June? These two right here. At 5:54, I'll come back and I'll show you. Okay, from what I was looking at, it's still same direct rear end collision. No other's clear, as I guessed. One of the cool things I think I forgot to tell you guys was you can actually make a field equal one of its inner values. So since we have multiple months, you actually say the date and the month equal to, let's say May, June, April, August. It doesn't matter. As long as you're saying it equal to an actual key value pair that makes sense for that field type, you can actually even filter your data down even more, make your searches quicker and more efficient. And I just did the fields to make my search quicker. That's why I just enter in the fields. But you're still going to have stats count by the date, month, collision type, and the weather. It's just this is the most important thing is you having the date, month equal June in your first part of your search. This one was like easy to medium, but I thought it's still pretty interesting that it's still the same direct rear end collision and the weather's clear. I've never been to Alabama, so I guess it doesn't rain that much. All right. Number 4, we don't have to do. It's a little more complicated. So the last one I want you guys to do is number 3, and then we can call it a day. Which month has the most events happening? Which month has the most events happening? So for starters, you're gonna get rid of the date and month. You don't need it since you're gonna be looking for data all the time. And I'll give the 6. Okay, I'll give 6 o'clock. Just give you guys enough time. Yeah, I was saying that May is the most popular month for events for crash-related incidents in Alabama, or I guess Montgomery County, I should say. I'm never been there, so I couldn't really tell you why that's the case. But if we peek down through the data more, we could probably find a pretty good explanation about why that's happening. And I guess the second one's October and December is the third one. This is for 2019, 2020. Let's count by the date month. Left everything the same. Questions? Oh, is it really? Wow, I did not realize that. Okay, that's my bad, guys. I kept saying Alabama. All I know was Florida, so I apologize about that. I did not realize that. Oh, surprising. That's probably explains why it doesn't rain that much. Okay, but does everyone else have any questions at all about anything I went over today? Any questions for me? Anything at all? Anyone that wants to stay or ask more questions, you feel free to do so. The people that had issues logging onto Splunk or they were getting kicked out, this day afterwards, and I'll be able to help you out and see where your issues were. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. This is my first one, so I apologize if there were some errors.